Welcome back to the BDTV Breakfast Show. This is the paper review segment, and I've got here in the studio with me Mohammed Akonji. We'll be here to speak on some of the stories gracing our front pages this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Liz. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
I hope you had a very good night.
Well, in your words, it's a mixed bag.
Oh my God! As if I knew you were going to be able to do that. You're going to play that at me. I knew, but it's fine. It's fine. Well done. I mean, it's good you're back here and try to be able to dissect the content of the papers.
Right.
And maybe yesterday, I'm sure you'll be able to mention them. But it seems that we have a raft of charges, raft of
okay.
The telcos, MTN started implementing theirs.
A lot of
the new CBN directive that came out on Monday that withdrawals on site ATM outside your bank, there will be charges now. You know, normally before now, if you have the first 3 withdrawals from ATM outside your bank, is free. So, but I think that will be scrapped now from the circular released by the CBN.
From the first one.
From the first one you are doing now, it's and in fact there used to be after the first 3 transactions in a month, at least you have 3 free withdrawals in a month. Then the next one will start from 35 naira. But now for every 20,000 naira withdrawn, I think they're saying you'll be paying 100 naira. I mean that's the circular that we got from the CBN yesterday, and I think that's what I mean by the raft of. I'm sure we can be able to say about Nigerians, you know, a lot of pushbacks. They want from the custom as well, you know, FOBs free on board that used to be in place. There was a 4% charge on that as well, but that was actually suspended yesterday. I'm sure I've read that in the news.
Yeah,
and so I mean, we have those rafts, you know, those deluge of charges, rates, and impositions here and there, you know, and it's really become concerning and worrisome, and we don't know when we feel like we should at least be able to get some relief and some succor from the government, the policymakers, and the agencies concerned. So getting all these, you know, it's really, really sending, you know, kind of a drive. It's really, really sending jittery down many people's spine, you know, what's going to happen again today. So we're expecting some succor, as I said, and you can see, I'm sure, on the top stories that you're going to read there, the reps demanding for that. You have other labor congress as well, the other civil society organizations trying to be able to demand for immediate reversals. But it is maybe the reality of the Tinubu administration and the government that we've seen ourselves. I was shocked in the afternoon when I saw MTN, you know, I used to be able to do data that I used to do then in fact, there was a friend that showed me the usual digital data bundle that you subscribe via their app, and it's about 2,000 for 15 gig. And they just want to take it to 6,000 yesterday.
Wow.
I'm sure the person showed me, I was shocked when I saw it. Just a colleague of mine at the office here. It used to be 2,000 on MTN. You do it like 7 days. And the girl was just showing me that digital bundle. They call it like favorite digital bundle. From 2,000, you know, went 6, up to, and that's even more than the 50% we're talking about. So maybe, so initially I was thinking perhaps that was actually done in error.
And then I also noticed that this morning, I don't know if it's just me. I've been trying to recharge airtime. You know how you do with the USSD
code,
or you
use a app to
or you make use of your app, your banking app.
Okay.
But I noticed that I've been doing that since the start of the day.
Okay.
Then the money goes, then it reverses.
It's okay. Back into your bank account.
Yes. Oh. And I can't really explain that
because other than, I'm sure we'll be able to talk about that. Other than MTN that have released, in fact, they've not done it officially because the person that MTN Punch said he spoke to was actually anonymity. Was talking about they've started, you know, effecting the increment which started on Monday, but others have not released any template. I mean, Glow, Airtel, they've not in that regard. So maybe that could also explain what you're actually experiencing this morning. Maybe they're trying to be able to readjust their platforms and it's perhaps.
So is that why? So because I don't know where this is coming from. Because I mean, like we know, both the banking sector and the telecom sector, we're having some adjustments here and there. So I don't know if it's the bank
or it is the telcos.
Telco. Like I've been Since
maybe
morning,
I
I haven't
didn't
been
notice that this morning, but I know I bought yesterday and it was seamless. Though I bought directly from the app, though from MTN, and then I got the 500 directly, and then so I have not tried it today, but I'm sure the pushbacks and the back and forth has actually been, you know, these reversals and things like that. So I mean, they've just actually been the way those things were just coming every now and then it's becoming so concerning and worrisome to Nigerians.
Of
that
course,
at this point in time, this is
we'll
what
have a little bit of the teething problems at the start, and then everything will
do you think
stabilize.
so? Teething in terms, because this is the new pricing structure, 50%. I remember there are cases we mentioned the case of Serap, for example. We mentioned the case of other socio-economic organizations, so economic rights groups, civil liberty organizations, and CSOs that have taken them to court. And then some actually demanding, in fact, NLC as well, has also been able to demand reversal back to the status quo. There were still discussions around maybe to be 10% of things within that regard. So the way it is now, the reps are just demanding a reversal yesterday. And it was at that point where the reversal was actually demanded that, you know, those adjustments to pricing structures started becoming manifest. You know, started seeing them as the one I told you I saw through the MTN app. We've not seen, I tried even to check through that use Glow, 9 Mobile and Airtel. They've not released the adjusted pricing structure yet, but they might likely be able to follow suit, given the fact that approval has come from NCC, which is the regulatory body. And then, you know, we started seeing the argument about, oh, for the past 10 years or 15 years now, they've not adjusted their price. But is this the right time to do that now? Maybe.
Well, maybe not, but let's see what we have on the front page of the newspaper this morning. Let's start up with the Punch. The Punch newspaper, the big story on the Punch newspaper says, reps demand reversal as new pricing begins. Telcos tariff hike. And also the writer goes on to say, lawmakers demand improvement in telecom services. MTN, others raise data tariff, which you've alluded to. Then on the top right, it says PDP crisis, Wike allies sack BOT chair, Sean Ikimi panel. Downwards, it says INEC strategizes to tackle vote buying during Anambra governorship poll. This continues on page 16. Again, on page 44, it says Senate grills IG over 178,459 missing guns, alleged contract splitting. Also, tension as police occupy Osun local government secretariat over chairman's tenure. Again, on page 28 is the final story on the front page. It says Makinde APC trade words over UCH power crisis. Firstly, where do you want to start off this morning? We've already started with the telcos tariff. You probably just want to tell us,
shed more light about that. So so it was a serious issue at the floor of the Green Chamber yesterday, where I'm talking about the House of Reps demanding for requesting for the immediate reversal of this new adjustment. But I think we've seen it already. You know, the one I think I saw there, and then if you look at what Punch reported, for example, 1.5 gig monthly plan that initially used to go for about 1,000 naira. Now they put it as 1.8 gig plan, but it now costs 1,500 naira. Similarly, 15 gig that used to be 4,500, they made it at 6,500, and then you see those adjustments are able to take place. So according to them, from the source, that from tomorrow, that which is yesterday, because it took effect. Initially, I was even thinking it's going to be March 1, because it's supposed to be February 1. That was the initial arrangement with the NCC. And then because of these, you know, back and forth over whether it's going to take effect, it was pushed to the 1st of March. Only for us to, you know, the breaking news that happened yesterday, or that we had yesterday, that an anonymous person from MTN mentioned that from Monday, which is 2 days ago, the new price increases will take effect. And we started being able to see them. So, yeah, the reps are demanding for reversals, which is exactly what we needed to now be able to see right now.
What are they demanding reversal
the reverse,
for?
put a pause on the hike for now.
Why?
And then to
Till
allow
when?
for more consultations and engagement.
Okay,
You know,
till
so
when?
no time was actually be able to put there. So I mean, the plenary session. So it was in fact it was a matter of urgent public importance that was actually raised by a member of the PDP from Bayelsa State. So Mr. Obuku Ofoji. So in that motion that he raised yesterday, he said the need for the Nigerian Communication Commission not to be able to approve the impending hike in the telecommunication tariffs. So he argued, you know, that that yes, companies are justified by tariff hike by citing the rising operational costs, because that's exactly what their concern has been, and the need for improved services. But the timing was particularly problematic, you know, given the economic hardship that is faced by many Nigerians. So, and that was so citing the level of inflation, the challenge that we'll be able to have with the rising poverty level, with other socio-economic malaise that have been there for the country. Timing is exactly what people are talking about. That this may not be the right time to do that. But what will the right, just like you asked me, till when? When will the right time be? I think that is still that is still shrouded, or that is still unclear as to when would that be. Because I'm sure if you have talked about this 6 months, you would have said timing is not right. And the way the economic situation kept snowballing and morphing into getting, you know, a bit tighter and harder day by day, I think that is creating a more of a challenge to each and every one of us. So yeah, it is obvious the telecommunicator or the telco providers have actually been agitating. They've been advocating for this price increase. You know, they've complained about the operational, the cost of operations have actually been able to increase. Diesels that they buy, the price that they used to be able to buy it at the price when it was 10 to 12 years ago is not the same as it is now. Wages, salaries, and other things that they used to be able to buy have actually been able to gone up. So they're justifying that there's a need for them to be able to adjust this rate. But this sometimes is a business of volume, maybe volume in terms of, you know, in terms of the more customers can be able to bring on board. I'm looking at perhaps. So maybe it could be the term of volume rather than term of rates. So if you can be able to have more customers on board, at least you're able to spread your operational costs. Maybe that's what the argument of Mr. Ofoji that was talking about there yesterday. And that, yes, even if it's going to be increased, maybe 50% is on a very, very high side. There is a need for us to be able to rethink that. Whether that will take effect, you know, it's still, as I told you, MTN has started affecting it now.
Yeah, MTN always tries to be like the
price leaders, the leaders in that industry,
trailblazer
in industry. The others have not released theirs yet, but whether they'll put a stop to that, as we know, which has actually been a bit epitomic of, you know, it's actually epitomized this administration, where they come up with some policies and then you hear, oh, let's put a stop to it for now, to allow for more consultations, to allow for more of those. So I think that was there. I think the other one would be the PDP crisis. I mean, we spoke about that yesterday.
and I'm sure, allies tracking BOT
so they started BOT chair. That is, so normally the court has actually ruled that the membership of a party member can only you can only suspend him from the grassroots where he's registered, maybe at the local government level. And that is why the Wike group went to that length to ensure that Mr. Adolfo Zwabara, who is the BOT chairman of the party, well, that's the board of trustees. We're talking about, they're more like the highest, they're not maybe the highest organ of the party. But even though you are the chairman at that level, you still be able to belong to the grassroots where your membership started from. So that's actually where they're able to initiate it from. Now, what are the people in his people in Abia State over there in the Abia North claimed that there are anti-party conduct, which is usually typical for parties to be able to level So against him, that is a member of the PDP and is endorsing just 5 months into the administration of Mr. Alex Oti, you know, the Labour Party candidate that is the governor of the state, that Mr. Adolfo Zwabara was actually was endorsing him already for second term. So that was actually considered anti-party. That how will you be in PDP and be endorsing another candidate that is in Labour Party for second term. So, but we know that this is not unconnected to the crisis that have engulfed the party, because this, why is they just waking up now? That statement made by Adefalujo was about 5 months after 2023 election. They even made that. So, and they used that as a kernel, that was actually used as a kernel to suspend him, sack him as a member of the party. But what the party do, as I say, is the BOT chairman at the level, at the national level. Yes, the court has actually ruled suspension and admission of any member into the party will begin at your local government level, at the grassroots level. That's where your membership will start. Then your membership of a party and even the suspension or the dismissal of any member can only be able to begin from there. So I'm sure there is a lot of other important things there.
Yeah, let's talk about the Senate grilling just very quickly, because we have a few minutes to go. Senate grilling Inspector General over missing guns.
That was unfortunate. I'm sure because you can imagine 178,000 guns missing, right? In fact, yesterday, if you listen to Adam Soshomale, he actually, even those that have retired, because some of them, when the IG, Mr. Femi Egbetokun, was actually able to come around and mention this, the IG, about, okay, these are the number of missing guns, but it's as a result of contract splitting. Contract splitting is, they give the guns, hire the guns out, maybe to criminals, to armed robbers, who then in return be able to share part of the largesse with some of the police officers. So, because the question they were asking him is, how many of them have now been punished? Even if you have dismissed them, let them still come around, because those guns are missing, they are not found. Where are they? Yeah, we know of cases of those that have actually been attacked, the criminals. It happened in the north, it happened in the east, where some of these police officers were actually attacked while on duty and the guns were carted away from them. But some of them were deliberately engaged in these acts. It's an allegation of contract splitting. And coming from the IG, about deliberately, that's contract splitting, deliberately, giving these guns out in return for, whatever comes out of whatever operations that they've actually be able to benefit from. This is another thing. So it was actually a very, I think I watched a snippet of what the exchange that transpired yesterday at the floor of the Senate, between the Senate committee after the plenary, the Senate committee on police, on police and the IG, where some of these statistics and this information came out, and it's actually become quite contract splitting, missing guns was really, really troubling and puzzling to me, because remember the IG himself was a man, Mr. Kayode Egbetokun, sorry. The
question is, where are all these missing?
That's what I'm saying. That's the question they're asking him. So allegations of those missing firearms, contract splitting of about 1.1 billion, coming out from some of some of the police officers, and these are law enforcers anyway, trying to be able to run amok with this. It is quite unfortunate. Let's
see what we have on the Vanguard newspaper this morning. The Vanguard newspaper says CBN hikes again. Still on all of this,
charges,
like you said, the charges and
raft of charges.
Raft of charges in your words, and then you also made use of deluge or something like that. But then the front page of the Vanguard this morning says CBN hikes ATM charges to 100 naira per 20,000 naira withdrawals. Again, I won't go on exile despite plans to arrest me. This is from El Rufai. Corruption index: Nigeria ranks 140 out of 180 countries. To me, this tragic. I don't like it. Reps ask federal government to halt impending hike in telecom tariff. We already spoke about that. Federal government adds another university in Kaduna. Brilliant news. PDP crisis. NWC voids Abia chapter's suspension of Wabara. Again, on the APC Okpepolo story, in disarray, unable to defend September 21 electoral heist. NIN now prerequisite for accessing social services. How important is this? Presidency North will take its turn after Tinubu's 8 years, says Ganduje, APC national chair. Well, fingers crossed on that one. World Cup qualifiers. NFF raises alarm over Chelsea's move to invite Musa.
Interesting. Musa.
Interesting.
Despite those,
you're shocked about that.
I know because I know the man has actually traveled. Eric Chell, that's the coach of the Super Eagles, and I'm sure you know Ahmed Musa, who was actually be able to pay his dues to the Super Eagles. But in fact, I was even thinking the concern would actually be one of these breakout stars, a very important player for Newcastle United in England. There was a video emerged on Tuesday yesterday. There was in Newcastle. And then he spoke to Jacob Murphy, who is actually be able to set Premiership alight this season on the likelihood of him joining the Super Eagles. But maybe to invite Mohamed Musa, he has been doing very well in the National League. You know, he plays for Kano Pillars now.
What's he inviting?
So there is a Nations Cup qualifier next month. World Cup qualifier for 2026 World Cup. So 2026 World Cup will be hosted by US, Canada, and Mexico next year, 2026. So the qualifiers, you know, preparation qualifiers for the tournament. We have our next round of matches coming in March, second week of March, against Rwanda and against Rwanda and one of that teams that we're going to be able to play. So now players, I'm sure unfortunately by next week, the list of players to be invited will be released. The man has traveled round, you know, traveled round Europe to meet Nigerian players, to speak to them, convince, and then because he's just a newly appointed coach, this will be his baptism of fire. His very first game for the Super Eagles is coming up in March. And a lot of people are actually anticipating, looking at what strategy, what tactics will he try to be able to bring on board. Because we're really struggling.
What will he bring on board?
Okay, so he was a former Mali coach.
But I don't want us to speak so much on this story. Probably come back. But let's talk about the big story here.
Of course, CBN hike.
CBN hiking. Firstly, I think that it's a very interesting time for us because things have changed in the past 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, with the introduction or the proliferation, so to speak, of POS machines. You know, on every street, you probably have, you can't even count. Like it's ridiculous. For me, it's ridiculous. I'm all about the fact that this has also created employment, but it's a little bit ridiculous. It's like here you have a POS, there you have a POS. There you have a POS. One. There you have it. It's not even within a space of at the end of the street you have a POS. You know, it's like everywhere.
Everywhere you look.
Nice estates. When you come out, you probably see. It's like, again, I think that the banks have also. I mean, the insider news that we hear. This is not reportedly is that many of these banks and then the bank workers, they're also using this
medium to
be able to
enrich themselves.
Because these days, when you even go to when last did you go to an ATM, if I may ask?
So look, I think I used one last week, Thursday, Polaris Bank, if I can, the one around Falomo. And I met money there, but it was early in the morning.
Okay, what made you go to the bank that day?
That's what I'm saying, 7 a.m. in the morning.
What made you? Did you go to the bank to do something, or you went precisely?
I went precisely to because I think I was going on. So it was around 7 a.m. in the morning.
You were passing by.
I then Polaris Bank, and I just asked the security, because you know the usual trend now has a security man. He said, "Money." I said, "Yes, there is." And then in fact, I was actually shocked. Yeah, seriously. Well, I remember, I think one of and this was actually a minted note, 1,000. Though I think was actually pegged at 15,000, maybe on one swoop, like I'd be able to withdraw. But I got 10,000 on the Polaris. And then on Monday morning, when I was coming back to work, I saw the queue there around 8 a.m. That same 8 a.m., which I mean indicates to me. But I know there are several other ones that I hear, go around us here. They are not working at all.
There's a good and bad for the POS machines. The good is I'm shocked to hear you mention queues. Probably there has to be a reason why there was a queue.
Of course. That's how to be for those people to be there.
The queues have reduced.
Of course, because the are not there.
It will shock you to know that most of the people on that queue are probably
POS operators.
Because most of the people on queues these days are not people like myself and you. They are people they are the POS operators. Because again, if we have POS operators here, you already can tell that we have like an increasing population of POS operators. So that queue, the fact that there was money there,
could
reflect that those are the POS operators. They're the ones that probably
that's exactly why. Because if you look at the amendment to the act that CBN mentioned, the rule actually applies to withdrawals from on-site and off-site, ATM of on-site and off-site. So on-site are ATMs within the banks, and those that are off-site, maybe just placed in strategic locations. So the CBN, mentioned, first of all, reverse, scrapped the usual ATM free withdrawals, as I said earlier. On a normal basis, you have access to 3 withdrawals in a day, and that that have been scrapped. Then this new increment, this new one, and I'm sure if you were to look at the riders there have been a lot of pushbacks, because it was, the news came up on Monday. I mean, the circular came out on Monday, but it became open to the public on Tuesday. So now, how banks, because the question is, why will it be able to trickle down? Will it not be able to lead to further increment of charges by these people? Because if they are paying 100 naira for every 20,000 withdrawals, from the ATM, you understand, by the banks now, through that channel, how is it not going to be able to impact us the more? I think these are some of my concerns that I've actually been so worried about. This broke yesterday, and then a lot of people have started jumping on it and saying, like, why at this point in time? And I'm sure I would like, maybe after the show, there is something that's actually be able to go on now in terms of bumper pays. They call them Cardoso's women. It has been a very serious issue since yesterday.
What does that mean?
So we brought on the CBN governor brought some consultants who are working with her. It has been trending on Twitter since yesterday. They call them Cardoso women.
Okay, so
they're even any more than directors that are working.
What are they up to?
They are just consultants that he brought on board.
Oh, okay.
He brought them on board, but they are women, 3 of them. In fact, the investigative
When did you bring
journalists,
them on board?
they said like they've been on there for the past since last year. But it's been creating a lot of hassle, a lot of a lot of issues within the ranks within the CBN, and so what they call them, maybe that's what they title it as, that Cardoso women, and
okay,
then
so this is there's an investigative piece
around that. We just be able to look at it and then
I'll look
talk about it.
I'll look that up. Let's see what this story, corruption index, Nigeria ranking 140 out of 180 countries. Not good. Not
and we dropped because we dropped again. That's the meaning. So what's the government doing? At least we're 136 as at 2023. This was a report for 2024, which reflects the drop. Out of then was 130 out of 196. Out of what I think some other countries pulled out of the corruption perception index. Yes, called the CPI. The corruption perception index, but the perception around Nigeria still show that a lot still needed to be done.
A lot actually needs to be done. I won't go on exile despite plans to arrest me. What's going on with El-Rufai? Who is planning to arrest him?
It was a serious blowout yesterday from El-Rufai. Maybe he was alleging the National Security Advisor wanted to arrest him, because now we are not sure. There have been issues. Is he still in APC? Is he not there? Remember, he was a ministerial nominee before he was dropped over security risk issues about him. He campaigned vehemently for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu very well. He was nominated as a minister, but his ministerial nomination was not confirmed by the Senate, and that was actually led to him not being. And since then, he went out of the public limelight. But recently, you've seen him, obnobbing and be together with oppositions.
Comeback or what?
So, but he still claims he's still in APC, yes. But we see him obnobbing with oppositions. Labour Party. He has been with Atiku severally. He has been with Peter Obi. He has also been with Kwakwan. So we've seen him in that regard. So APC have become so jittered over that, and they've even sent the presidency have actually been able to reply him. That he's just frustrated. So he coming out yesterday that there are plans to get him arrested. They wanted to. His life is under threat. Has actually been a very, very strong revelation from him yesterday, and what they're actually planning. Precisely, he said the Office of the National Security Advisor is actually behind.
Again, this news on NIN now being a prerequisite for this one on page 24 of the Vanguard newspaper, NIN now being a prerequisite for accessing social services. How important is this?
I mean, that's what government has actually been trying to be able to do, to ensure that you don't have a case of people coming twice, getting those things. When they said each person is just to be able to have access to just one item or have access to a particular amount of money, to ensure that issue of double getting double benefit, you understand, does not arise. I think that's actually the major concern there. So what the SGF was saying now is that palliatives, cash transfers, conditional benefit that the government will give, you will only be able to access them with a proof of NIN. You know, of course, maybe to sanitize the system, because it will be so, you would marveled that when they said this, when I think one of them started here, in fact, behind us here at the Federal Secretariat, about when they are selling the bag of rice for 40,000. That time when, you know, rice has become a very, very troubling issue. And they said, when you come around, each person is to be able to entitle to just one bag, buy one bag. And then one of the directors there was actually arrested for having about more than 20 bags.
So do you think this NIN being a
we try to be able to bring transparency, a check into the amount of number of people. So you want to be able to plug in your name, you can say, okay, no, you have gotten before. What are you still coming here to?
Yeah, that's commendable. So let's see what we have on the business
how effective
day.
that will be as well.
Hope
it will not be circumvented.
Hopefully. Let's see what we have on Business Day this morning. Business Day paper says, foreign investors' confidence grows as Eurobond yields dip. Again, the big story says influx of foreign fighters mirrors weak border surveillance. Influx of foreign fighters mirrors weak border surveillance. This one is from Ojo Chenemi Onje in Abuja. Naira stability lowered business costs in January. I know this is probably something you want to speak on. So let me hear.
No. I mean, so we've Naira gained strength, you know, on characteristic of it. I mean, surprisingly, in the month of January, and business operations, cost of business operations remain a bit steadied over that particular period. Yeah, it's attributed to central bank efforts to be able to sanitize the system and to to ensure a bit of steady supply and also be able to moderate demand that happens. So if you look at the report that actually came out, indicates that cost of operation reduced not so significantly, but at least modestly in the month of January. And then the way it has actually been able to also move to the month, because that stability was witnessed for the last 2 weeks of this January, and the first week of February too has also been able to witness that Naira gain. Successively, Naira has actually been gaining strength over that period. And you see it modulating in fact, in the parallel market at 1,005. In the official market, it's about 1,400. So people say expect it to be able to come down because there's still question about it's being undervalued. The optimal value of the Naira should be like around 1,150 to 1,200. So it's still expected for it to be able to trend downward and get to that value where it is considered to be the optimal value based on purchasing power parity criteria.
What do you know about the foreign investors' confidence growing as Eurobond yields dip?
So I think that's still not unconnected to the stability of the Naira anyway. And and then Trump's policies about Europe. You know, since Trump come around, the market has actually been a bit unstable. It has created, what can I call that? It has been able to cause a little of a turbulence in the market, you know, with his plans on what he's going to be able to do with Europe yet. And that, you know, has affected Eurobonds. Most of the bonds are actually be able to raise in Europe. So what most of them are looking at are able to look at emerging market economies, where, and that is because maybe the emergence of Trump has been able to create some of those stabilities for emerging market like Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, the emerging ones, Brazil, where they tend to be able to see some level of, you know, the returns on investment in those spaces have actually been able to increase quite well. So Trump's effect is what is actually able to come to deep, because since that January 20 has come on board, Eurobond has actually struggled to be able to move up quite well as expected. And then I think what you wanted to talk about there.
Then there's also outrage over MTN's data.
Of course, I think we've spoken about that.
We already spoke about that.
Hike.
Then this big story in the
of course,
influx of
the
foreign
Lakora boys
fighters
still come to mind. Yes,
mirroring weak border surveillance. Yes.
I think
that's also another story. Then also we have the picture. There's a picture from the Shift conference, which held over the weekend. Sam Adeyemi, he had present some really notable people Ibuka and Osika and all of that. People
yeah.
have been speaking about
The conference,
how impactful that conference was.
Okay. Leadership conference, right?
Yes, it was over the. I mean, I have a couple of people even here at BusinessDay that I've spoken so well about some of the things that they learned, takeaways. It wasn't just another conference. So I understand why it would be on our front page. Let's see what we have on the cartoon of the day this morning on the BusinessDay newspaper. It's always a good way for us to end. Cartoon of the day says US aid. Obviously, the conversations on US aid have been ongoing for a while now. The people that the people that are beneficiaries, and also the people that beneficiaries here in terms of getting health education and all of that, and also the people that are employed. What's next for them? Now we have
thousands of people globally.
Yes, globally are affected by this. Now we have Trump.
This is very big
That's
chainsaw.
President Trump. Then he has a chainsaw, and then on his head we have is that a catapult? Something on his ear? There's something interesting. Okay. It looks like a catapult. The scissors there, but we have US on his head, and then the aid.
The aid cuts.
The aid. So it's then there are lots of people tied to trying to hold on to the aid. And then we have NGO media.
Okay, what's that? Okay, NGOs and media. No, I'm talking about what was on his head.
Yeah, this is.
Does that look like? Okay. Then was it scissors or something? Okay.
I don't even know. It looks like a catapult, the scissors. Then we have people holding on to the aid in color red.
Of course,
and
in
then,
red, showing that it's instead of hate, it has become a bandage on them.
And then people are holding on to it. What do you understand by that?
Oh, of course. I mean, you actually be able to put a bit of a summary to that. The USAID's court right now for the next 90 days, for the next 3 months, has brought about serious tectonic shift in within the development space discussions globally, even in the US itself. As well as emerging economies, countries that have been able to be impacted by it. Nigeria has received, but the government have actually been able to double down to say that we only get less than 17% of our aid come from there. So unlike East African economies, the Middle East that were more heavily impacted by this. So we've seen DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, that have actually been at the forefront of this. Even though people have actually taken USAID is a child of legislative act, is a constitutional provision. DOGE is just what the president came up with as a result of trying to be able to cut government wastages. Has this actually been a sense of a government wastage? Articles, opinions have actually been expressed on the benefit and the impact the aid have actually had on the global scale. The Trump administration claimed in the next 90 days they will come up with what they are going to do eventually with it. But they place the staff, tens of thousands of staffs actually that work there globally will actually be placed on leave. It has affected those that work here in Nigeria, the employment part. But maybe that is where the impact is significantly felt here in the part of the world. Maybe the actual impact on the actual aid given.
Yes,
the government is trying to be able to downplay that.
Yes, they're saying that 17%, maybe just 17%.
Is also what we
but in
get
terms of the employment, that's where we're feeling a little bit of an impact.
Be able to,
Trump's policies since he came on board, has been head spinning. It's been head spinning, a little bit hectic as well. But
I mean, unbelievable. The man.
And then also the conversations about how how much influence or how much
impact.
Is it influence or just how much? Yes, influence that Elon Musk also has in this government. Right, it's almost like I was watching the news yesterday and. On the interview, I'd asked that it's looking like
another person.
White House correspondent. Yes, and said that it's looking like they are ruling together. Like, is this like a joint
co-presidency?
Yes, they called it a co-presidency, and then the correspondent mentioned it's not exactly a co-presidency, but it's looking like it because he's also working with it's actually called DOGE. It's also working with the Department of Government Efficiency as well.
So it was not that department. Things. The question is that department was not even part of government establishment.
Yes,
was just created. He mentioned he's going to be able to do that to cut government wastages, to ensure that they're able to minimize expenses, wastages, and rogue organizations in their world. But the way it has actually been going, you know, and you see them trying to be able to make claims and see that this institution. So when a constitutionally provided, a constitutionally established institution is now being threatened by as some people will say, an unconstitutional government parastatals,
and then
it comes to question what exactly is actually going on in that
talking
space.
about it's looking like an oligarchy, but I mean, we'll come back to this conversation.
System, perhaps, of course.
Yes, we'll come back to this conversation very soon. Again, tomorrow is another day. But thank you very much, Mohammed, for your time on the morning show this morning. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks,
and that's where we bring it to a close this morning. For the papers, we'll be back soon to speak on the big stories. To stay with us.